This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 43.
But when I do take a loss, it's just part of the game. I just move on to the next trade. I don't even think about it. It's like football teams when they go into halftime and they're down 21 points and they come back and they win.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He has played with Barbies on multiple occasions, Clay Trader.
Now, before you go and start casting judgments, I do have a legitimate excuse. I have two daughters, and Joy, who's my oldest, she likes to play Barbies, and she says, "Daddy, will you play Barbies with me?" And I mean, I'm not going to say no. Sure, I'll hang out with my daughter. So yes, I played Barbies, and I played them on multiple times. However, my wife has informed me that I don't play Barbies properly. I play them more as like G.I. Joes, where like you have Ken and then Barbie, they like have conversations and, hey, how are you doing? And hey, what's going on? But I guess you really just kind of play Barbies more so as you change their clothes, you brush their hair, you put in ponytails. And I was never aware of that. So my wife finally confessed that she would just like to watch, she would just observe me, play with Barbies like G.I. Joes, walk them around and, talk and have conversations. But I guess that's just not how you do it. And Barbies are not G.I. Joes. They're just there to more so, I don't even know why they give them like the Barbie car and all that sort of stuff. If you're just changing their clothes and brushing their hair, I don't understand all that stuff, but whatever. It is what it is, I guess. So for any of you guys out there, there's some fatherly advice. When your daughter asks you, she doesn't mean play them like G.I. Joe. She just means like comb their hair and dress or change clothes. So Ches, do you have any experience with Barbies?
I do not. I was an only child, so I was just making up scenarios with like helicopters blowing stuff up or police cars crashing into trucks and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think I'd be very good at that. It would definitely be something I would have to adapt to, being in that environment of vanity and hairbrushing.
But I mean, do you agree with me that my logic was right? Like you have these two people, like, would you play with them in that fashion where like
You
you're
were
talking
you
to
were
each
focused
other?
on the interaction, yeah, and I would be focused on the interaction as well. And
Okay.
it seems like it's more kind of a beauty type routine type stuff for that per se, changing outfits and stuff. Whereas ours might be like, hey, let's go down to this building over here. Yeah, let's go check it out. Like a conversation type, and versus just kind of a single type thing.
Yeah, and of course, when Barbie and Ken are walking down the street, you got to look out for snipers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
you
It's
never know. A
always a
GI
threat.
Joe could show up. Yeah, Cobra, whatever the guy's name was or I don't know, like Shredder from Ninja Turtles. Somebody might show up, but
It could come from anywhere. That's right.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of my views on all this. But welcome to the show, everybody. We have I think a real interesting interview today with Jules, and that's the name he goes by in the chat room. He's been around for a long time, and he's been through quite a bit. And in fact, we kind of touch on one of those time periods that he was around. There were things that have definitely changed from then. So it's a very kind of reminiscent interview in some senses, but I think it'll be very beneficial. He's got a lot of perspectives, and he's brutally honest to the point of almost making it kind of embarrassing. Again, I'm not trying to rip on him because we've all been there. He just has the guts to actually admit what he's admitted. So I'm not implying that he's an idiot or anything. He just actually had the courage to really kind of be brutally honest about how things got started. So it's very relatable in a sense where it's, we can kind of all just chuckle about it because I think if everybody's honest, we've all been there before. So let's hop in and hear from Jules. My man, Jules, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Now, I'm trying to think. You have been around for, were you one of the, when you bought, did you get lifetime membership? Were you one of the first 300 or when exactly did you join in with the group? Because you've been around a long time.
Oh, I got in March of 2014, I believe. I don't think the inner circle was around the whole lot when I first joined. So
Yeah, I think you just must have missed. So you were just outside like one of the first 300 members. So,
bummer.
but yeah, I mean, you were around for the white polo, the pink flamingo. You were around for all that talk way back when I mean, we were literally just kind of getting things off the ground. So, It's good to have you on the show. You are definitely one of those. You got some experience in terms of you've seen a lot of people come and go with the group. So welcome again to the show. You ready for this?
I am totally ready, man.
You're totally ready. I got to just, this is pretty funny. So before people come on, and I guess maybe I'm trying to get other people to come on too. We do send the person, so we sent Jules like a rough outline of the questions. It's not going to be every single question we ask, but just so they have an idea of what to kind of think about and stuff like that. And Jules filled it out like it was a job application or something. He filled out all the answers to the questions, and he's like, hey, do you want me to send that back? And so publicly, Jules, I apologize for not clarifying myself better, that you did not need to fill that out. You just needed it to kind of just gather some general thoughts. So do you accept my apology?
I accept your apology.
Okay, thank you. That's
it's probably more my fault than yours, but
well, it's Chez's fault. You want to team up and blame Chez on this one?
I'm all down for blaming Chez.
You want to be on this podcast yourself, Clay? Or I mean,
I was waiting for Chez's rebuttal.
I could just keep the microphone muted the whole time if you want, but
that's true.
You want me to continue to be your co-host? We will focus on Jules for our attack of this podcast, because
that's true. Okay, I like this. We're starting off building alliances with one another. Who's going to attack who? So this is because there's 3, right? Yeah. So it's somebody's going to get left out. So I guess I would be good at Survivor. I'm right in the middle of this right now. I can go to either alliance. So this is good. But we are getting way off topic. So Jules, what got you started in the market? What even piqued your interest? Tell us about the beginning of your journey.
Well, beginning of my journey, I was trying to become a professional Call of Duty player, and at that time, one of my favorite pros was tweeting out about how he recently got into the stock market and was making buco bucks by following a famous penny stock pumper at the time. But I didn't know what that term even meant, and I don't think this player knew what that meant either. So I jumped in, just didn't even try to get my feet wet first. I just jumped in head first, and it was a disaster.
So celebrity endorsement, you come into the market full guns a-blazing. I'm assuming you just funded an account really quickly, and now what?
And also, what year was this? Because some guy was making a bunch of money, penny stock pumper. So was this during the marijuana stock boom?
This was exactly during the marijuana stock boom. So it was right before I got my Clay Trader Inner Circle membership. Just
so at that point,
weeks before.
Okay, because I mean, at that point in time, from your buddy's perspective, or whoever this Call of Duty player was, pretty much you could follow anyone on Twitter at that point in time, and everybody looked like a genius penny stock player because somebody's dead grandma could post a penny stock. And at that point in time, the thing would just roar because it was a massive bubble. So I don't really blame your buddy, because everybody at that point in time looked like a genius out there, because all they would say is, hey, this one's going to go up. And hey, look, it went up. So you followed, or you saw it from this respected guy. And then, like, to echo Chez's question, did you fund your account right away? Or what was kind of the lag time between you saw that and then, hey, I want to fund my account?
I saw it, and I immediately looked up online, and I found TD Ameritrade, and I dropped $10,000 into an account as soon as the account was open, and like I said, just jumped in head first. It was very bad.
so $10,000. That's quite a bit.
That's a little bit of it's not a little measly starting amount. We have traders who have come in with much less, and we've also had people who come with more, but generally the people with the larger account that just kind of come in right away, they're ones who have plenty of disposable income to kind of do this. So I'm assuming you have absolutely zero background in chart reading, maybe no fundamental analysis skills, anything like that. You are completely a clean slate to the market. Is that right?
That is absolutely true.
Yeah, didn't I hear you? I think you said that you didn't know what like a pumper meant or something, or what you said you didn't realize what a term meant earlier. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly the term. I had no idea what a stock pumper was. I didn't know the difference between a penny stock or a big board stock like Apple or Facebook. I didn't know anything at all.
So you got your account funded. You got $10,000 ready to be utilized, as best you can. Is your plan at this time just to follow somebody's trades on Twitter? Was there a chat room that this celebrity had kind of said that it was really good and you should go check out? What was the plan once you had that account open?
The plan was to do exactly the first thing he said, was follow trades on Twitter. And that's because, as we all remember from that time, this penny stock pumper, we're not going to name him or anything, he had a huge following. And everyone was like, buy the dips.
Was his name perhaps name of a mammal that howls?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Okay, there we go.
So I'm listening to all the advice. Buy the dips, buy the dips. I didn't even know what dip meant. I had to look that up on Google.
You thought it
And
meant like tobacco or something? Why is this guy talking about tobacco? I thought we were talking stocks here. Yeah.
Everyone kept saying slap the ask, and they kept throwing out terms bullish, bearish. I had no idea. I was lost. I was just, when someone said buy, I was buying.
And, I feel like, Ches, this could be like potentially the most puppet trading of basically this is like the epitome of puppet trading. Like
this is what gurus strive to have their entire flock of sheep do. Literal full confidence, no questions asked, blindly following, no matter where they sent him. Yeah, I love it. I'm sure they loved it too.
And thank you, Jules, for just being so open and honest and admitting that you literally had no idea what anything meant. Yeah, you obviously knew what buy meant, because that's pretty much the only thing that you were listening to. I mean, is that pretty accurate? Is that kind of a good summation? Is really the only thing you knew what anything meant was buy?
Exactly. They said buy. I'd open up, TD Ameritrade through my browser. I didn't even have a platform, and I'd pull up the ticker, which at the time was MINE and SPLI.
Oh yeah, a couple classics.
And the worst part about it was I was really late to the party. I bought the top.
Like
I literally bought the top.
It builds character. I'm sure you'll say it was a good character building exercise, but yes,
I'm not even going to cop out. I'm not even going to cop out and say.
So what did you buy in at, if you remember, and then what was the actual top, or do you mean you literally bought the top?
I literally bought the day that it stopped moving up.
So
no joke, it never moved up further than the point that I bought it.
And MINE, for those of you listeners, if you want to pull up a chart in that, scroll back to 2014. You'll probably get a good idea of where Jules is talking about. And I'll be here to let you know it's not a very pretty chart. But at this point in time, I think mine has had a now reverse split. So all the prices are kind of jankety. So wow, you literally are, like Ches said, you are the sheep of sheep. You are what those gurus drool. I mean, you are the ideal quote unquote client for one of these people that says, hey, follow me. So you buy the top, and then walk us through that. What's going on in your mind? I mean, because you buy and then it just starts to go down. So walk us through what's going on in your mind and kind of, how things progress from here.
Well, it started going down naturally. And what was going through my head was, well, crap, I'm starting to lose money. But, everyone was so confident on Twitter, and, me being the puppet trader that I was, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hold. I'm not going to have, quote unquote weak hands. I'm not going to dump my position. I'm just going to let it ride, and it's going to come back up. And then, so finally I started looking at charts at this point, and I would see on the chart, like intraday, it would go up and then down and then up and then down and then up. But every time it would go up, it would seem like it was going up and up. But I was looking at previous history, not thinking, logically about the whole situation, but it never did go back up. So it was,
and that's the nature of things being overextended, and we kind of cover that extensively. And I know a lot of our listeners out there do watch the live trading videos, and Clay specializes in kind of overextended charts. That's where his kind of go-to stuff is. But you were caught on kind of the overextended top side of a huge thousands of percent move for that whole marijuana boom. So
from the emotional standpoint, you bought in the euphoria stage of the cycle when everybody was just on cloud nine. That's when you bought, and that's when a lot of people buy. And euphoria, that's you want to be buying when people are scared out of their minds, not when everybody thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So sorry to cut you off there, Ches.
No problem. So okay, so you're in this position. It pretty much never goes green, which is just something that can happen in some trades. What do you have any plans to limit your losses? Do you have any? I guess, are you just waiting for this guru to tell you when to exit? What is your holding status on these stocks that you've now entered?
I had zero plans to exit my trades. I was doing exactly what you just said. I was waiting for this pumper to tell everyone to get out of their positions. I thought that's how this game worked. You know, you're following someone, follow the leader. And I was, you know, like you said, I was the definition of a puppet trader. And you know, even back then, I didn't even know what the heck that meant. So I'm just holding strong, and before I knew it, almost all of the money I had put in was gone. It was just wiped out within maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just gone.
So $10,000 wiped out, and we'll say 3 weeks. That's a lot of money, I think, for really anybody. I mean, 3 weeks, $10,000 gone. So what was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, where you're just like, I gotta just get out? When did that finally, occur, and kind of what finally kind of smacked you in the head in a sense that said, hey, dummy, you just got to get out?
Well, that didn't occur until after I got my Inner Circle membership, which that same day I believe I purchased the Penny Stock Survival Guide, and I closed my browsers. I just watched that whole video series in one day.
One day?
Well, to be honest, I watched you at 2x speed.
Oh, that's right. I remember. But still, that's still beast moding things pretty hardcore.
It's not a
And,
short course for those who are unfamiliar with it. It's over 10 hours. I think it's closer to 14 hours. So yeah, good
it's
7 hours of just straight video content. There you go.
It was very eye opening, and very next day, I closed out the remaining of my positions, which left me with 1.7k out of the 10k starting.
So that was about correct me if I'm wrong here, but about an 80% decrease in your portfolio in a matter of 3 weeks. So, I mean, after you took the penny stock survival guide course, did things kind of make sense with what happened to you? You know, kind of the logistics of it. Did it kind of, like, I know you said it opened your eyes, but opened your eyes in what sense?
Well, everything you had laid out in that course, which I won't give away course details, was exactly everything that I had fallen for from this penny stock pumper. And of course, I learned terms that I didn't know previously, like what a bid and an ask was, and all this stuff. You know, I started learning terms, and I started catching on to the tweets that everyone was, tweeting out, and everyone was, like recommending certain things. I'm like, okay, this is just all part of the Kool-Aid, and I'm sipping this Kool-Aid. I need to stop doing this, and I did. I stopped immediately, and from that point on, from that day on, the day I bought the penny stock survival guide, I've not once ever drank the Kool-Aid since then. So it was, I mean, that was probably the best thing that ever happened for my trading, because I probably would have never traded again if I didn't, come across that course.
And I know a lot of people, we have some newer members who say, well, there's no need for me to kind of take that course because, I only trade bigger names. But at the same time, I'm sure Clay would agree with me here that we see people sometimes in the chat who are drinking, the Apple Kool-Aid, the Google Kool-Aid, the Netflix Kool-Aid. And the thing is that Kool-Aid exists in just about any name. I have people who are long Tesla, close to Tesla's complete highs, that refuse to sell it because they're just such a firm believer in it. And I get it if you have an account dedicated for long-term holdings or your retirement or things like that. Sure, I can understand holding for 30 years, but at the same time, Kool-Aid exists in all names, and I think that course is a real good eye-opener. It really resides in the penny stock market, but there's Kool-Aid everywhere, and in life in general. So you kind of realize the error of your ways, just kind of blindly, buying into these names without kind of doing much here. So what did at any point now, did you start getting interested in kind of technical analysis at all? Chart reading per se, or, patterns, things like that?
Well, after PSSG, I realized the importance of charts, and I would watch Clay's videos at the close every day, and I would see he's talking about support and resistance, possible patterns. I didn't know what any of this stuff meant. So shortly after that, I would say maybe a week, I purchased robotic trading, and I've gone through robotic trading a total of 7 times now. And I've even logged dates and everything of when I would start and when I would finish. I've gone to that course 7 times, and I'm still learning every time I go through it. So that right there was what started me being profitable with trading. But it didn't happen right away, obviously. It took months of practice.
Don't say that. Say that. Say right after you bought the course, you made $1 million. Could you say that, please?
Yeah, right after the course, I made $1 million.
See, everybody. So please come and buy the course. It'll make you a millionaire. But in all seriousness, so it took a lot. Yeah, it took a lot of time, a lot of hard work. So I want to kind of transition, and we can go back if I don't want to fast forward over anything that you think might be kind of important. But I know you are right now. You're working on day trading options, but I know you said you've been selling premium and stuff like that for a while. So when did options trading kind of start to creep into your journey?
Well, for a while there, when I started to rebuild my account, I was still trading penny stocks, but I wasn't, drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. I was only trading stocks that were moving.
You were
And
trading them, right? Not investing
yeah,
in
I
them.
was trading them. And at the time, obviously, I didn't have $25,000 in my account, so I'd only make, 2 or 3 trades a week, which is completely fine with me at that time because I was making huge gainers. There was one member in the chat room, MD Trader, which I'm sure we all remember and
Yep.
love and miss. He would make these awesome alerts, and I was just kind of puppet trading him for a while I was learning stuff from robotic trading. And he really, well, between him and Gator, they really helped me bring my account from the negative back to the positive by the time MD Trader had left. So when he left the room, I was just kind of in shambles because my directional trading still wasn't, up to where I would like it to be, to where it's at, today, almost 2 years later. So someone in the chat had mentioned options. I didn't know what they were, so I started doing some research, and Gator was doing some research as well, and we would start talking about it in the chat, and then you would come along and say, "Don't talk about that." So I'd have to do it, outside the chat, which was a little bit hard because I had to do all this research on my own, and I didn't have anyone to teach me how to do it. So
Let me. I want to, because that's actually super funny. You brought that up, and I've mentioned this before in past podcasts, but I totally fell into the trap of options. Way too complicated. They're just, I just too complicated. So, and like I said, Jules is a longtime member. So when I made the comment that he's seen a lot, he's been through a lot. There was definitely a time when I was just like, don't even talk about options in here. You're going to scare people off because options are way too complicated. They're way, and I still admit full heartedly that I wrongly assumed that these things were like rocket science. So I definitely, Jules is not exaggerating. I'd be like, hey, just don't talk about that stuff here. It's way too complicated. You're going to scare people off. Let's just stick, let's try to encourage people, not intimidate them with all this strike price talk and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. So that's funny you brought that up because that was definitely a phase during the inner circle, which is kind of nice for me.
It was a time period. It was pre-options Clay, and I can attest to it that we had to go underground because me and Jules and Gator and a couple other people would talk, in like a Google Hangout or something because Clay. I understand why Clay didn't want to do it because if we're talking about all these Greeks and things like that, it just sounds like he said, like rocket science. So we completely get it. But once Clay's eyes were opened, boy, oh boy, did that landscape of this chat room change.
It did.
It made me a very happy camper.
Yeah, it's like I'm reminiscing over here. I have a couple of tears going down my cheek about all where we've been and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you for bringing up that little comment because that opens up my little kind of can of memories. So sorry to interrupt you there, but so you guys are kind of, as Ches said, underground talking options. So pick it back up from there.
Yeah. So from there, I was getting my education from another site. In respect for you, I won't name the other site, but everything I learned up to that point was, don't buy options, sell options, because you're getting a higher rate of or a higher percentage of profitability if you're selling options because you could profit in many different ways, not just one way 50-50. So I started selling options. My first trade was absolutely horrendous. It was on the ticker AMD, and I sold a naked put, and it went the opposite way. But luckily, at that point, I knew to stop myself out. I was done with that. But once that was over with, I had put an initial $10,000 into my account so I can, start making better, or I could start getting more gains on my advanced options trades, as you call them. So I started doing I started doing put credit spreads on Apple, and that worked out great for a very long time until Apple stopped trending in the way that I wanted it to trend.
I was gonna say, to give context, Apple was
Yeah.
just continually going up, and Jules kept selling bets to people that it was going to the downside. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was doing those, a month or 2 months out, which is, still my ideal situation when I'm doing, credit spreads. And then I started doing iron condors on SPX, but those are weeklies, and that's kind of been where I make my money now. However, it's very, very small gains, but I get paid well outside of trading. So this to me is like a hobby. But lately, I've switched gears into the day trading by buying premium as opposed to selling. And if my real life gains, because I go live next month with a small cash account, if they're anywhere near what my paper trades have been, I would like to make this a career. I think it'd be great.
So right now, are you still selling premium at all, or is all your attention focused on your day trading options as opposed to, because I mean when you're selling them, that's more of a swing trading, but when you're buying, you're doing it more so as a day trade. So are you doing both right now, or where exactly does your selling premium, where does that stand?
My live account it's still live. I mean, I'm still trading in it. I'm just not paying attention to it because that's one thing I love about the options trades that I do. You can just kind of set it and forget it, unless of course something like August happens, which kind of backtracking. I lost my butt in August and September badly. Like I was off on work when I set my trades and I wasn't paying attention, and I lost like $15,000. It was bad.
So you weren't paying attention.
I was
So-
not paying attention when that whole crash happened, and
So would you agree with this statement, and feel free to disagree, that swing trading options, which is what you're doing with a full-time job, is possible if you are always paying attention? Is that a fair statement?
that now after what happened, yes, that's a very fair statement.
I
So-
want to
What
jump in here
happened,
though.
I would
I want to
say
jump in here though.
Yep.
It is by paying attention. Clay means checking in on the position, probably once a day. And I always recommend to people, check it at lunch or something. Just look at it once. That's all you have to do. So I'm assuming, Jules, when you say you were just completely hands off, I mean you would set that position and maybe log in next week. Is that kind of what you meant?
I would set it and forget it for
For a month
days,
or whatever, depending
for
on what
days,
it
yeah,
was. Gotcha.
All right.
So yes, you want to be in tune with it. So I'm going to agree with Clay here. You could do similar strategies like this with advanced options, but I would recommend, and I'm sure Clay and Jules would as well, just at least check in on it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. My definition of paying attention is definitely check it at lunchtime, check it at night, but check it at least once, maybe twice a day. Don't. So thank you again, Jules, for just being so brutally honest about, no, I'd set it and I didn't check on it for days. So yeah, there's because, so let me ask you this, Jules, had you been, paying attention, again, being defined as just checking in once or twice a day, would some of that disaster have been averted?
Oh, that would have been completely, like, I wouldn't have had a disaster. I would have closed my positions for a loss probably, but it would have just been a small loss. Once my iron condors, my weekly iron condors go into the red, I usually close them right away. I don't even let them, gain more than $100 loss at all. So I close them right away, and then I just wait for the next week, which I usually put those trades on a Wednesday or Thursday for the next week's expiry. So I wouldn't have had a huge loss at all.
So, I mean, you have systems in place for all this stuff. I mean, you have steps that that you want to do. If this happens, do that. If that happens, do this. You have all that in place. It was literally just a matter of some work stuff came up and you're just like, nah, I'm not going to pay attention. So really the only flaw here, I guess, to kind of speak somewhat brutal, is you just thought that you could just not pay attention for days on end. I mean, but it sounds like, would you agree with that, Ches? Because I know you're more of the options trader than I am. It sounds like he has good systems in place as far as, his steps when certain things happen.
Yeah, I completely agree that he does have steps in place, but the thing is that it's all overridden, if he's not capable of, seeing that the sell-off is happening, or, and I know now, based on screenshots from Jules, or I believe it's from you, that you have alerts set up based on various market conditions. If the market gets volatile, you'll get a text to your phone or an alert from, Thinkorswim. So I know that I'm pretty sure that one event that kind of took some of Jules' money, really kind of snapped him out of that completely hands off, and now he can be still capable of working full time, but still have one eye on the market per se.
Oh yeah, and also
actually, is that accurate? Are you the person that has like alerts set for your phone and all that stuff?
I have alerts for everything. Email.
All right, let's talk about that. Tell us about that, because it's interesting. I don't think we've ever had anybody that maybe other people do it, but we've never talked about it. So yeah, just kind of expand upon what these alerts tell you, what the criteria for them is, and kind of, I guess, explain the logistics. What broker are you using that allows you to do this?
Well, I'm using TDA, which
stands for TD Ameritrade for you new listeners out there.
And I use their awesome platform, Thinkorswim, and I've been using it pretty much since day one, since I started, quote unquote, trading. You can pretty much set alerts for anything in the platform, but what I like to do is I like to set alerts because, going into a little bit of my strategy here, when I'm setting up my iron condors, I like to set my legs, 1 to 1.5 standard deviations out on either side, right? So I'll set my alerts, to tell me if the price goes outside that range on either side. So at that point, then I open up, my Thinkorswim, and if I want to close the position, I'm closing that position. It's as simple as that. And now I'm setting up alerts for my intraday stuff, but I'm
sorry, I don't. So when you're saying alerts, are these text messages that show up on your phone?
Yeah, I'm getting text message alerts, email alerts, and I wrote a script that also sends alerts to my Twitter if I don't have access to the other two.
So in other words, you learned a valuable lesson that I need to be on top of this. I need to check in every once in a while. So, and now actually you don't even check in. It's more like, that's really cool how you look at it. Your positions are checking in with you saying, hey, Mr. Jules, position is doing this. So that's kind of cool how you don't necessarily have to check in. The position checks in with you. So that's actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I really love the Thinkorswim platform. There's so much you could do with it. And, I'm not saying everyone has to use it, obviously. But, I mean, for me, it works for me. It may not work for others,
I would say, and I want Ches to chime in on this too, but I use Thinkorswim for my options trading. I do not use TD Ameritrade to execute the trades because I can get better fees through my broker, which is Lightspeed Trading, in case so people are wondering. But as far as the tools are concerned, I fully agree with you, Jules. It's and the nice thing about them is you can create an account and get access to their tools, and you don't even have to fund an account or anything. So at least at the time of this recording, that is how it works. But would you agree with that, Ches, that TOS has some of the best set of tools out there for, options trading, specifically more so kind of the swing trading stuff?
And I don't want to, it's not that I want to downplay other large brokers, but I completely agree with you that kind of Thinkorswim, first off, little background, was bought by TD Ameritrade. So Thinkorswim was developed independently. When things are developed independently, there's time, resources, and tons of money that goes into kind of developing it to make it a powerful, very, very useful platform. So with that being said, TD Ameritrade saw it was a great platform. I think that, was such a smart acquisition by them, but it has so many good tools, especially for options traders and, active or swing traders. They really kind of built it to be kind of the jack of all trades. And, not to, like I said, not to downplay other brokers, but honestly, E-Trade, Scottrade, any of these other, big name brokers, their platforms just feel haphazard and kind of crummy to me in the sense that they were tossed together to kind of fulfill a need of people who need to put in orders versus trying to be the most efficient and kind of, best for the user that, that's what Thinkorswim accomplished. So I completely agree that it's a super powerful tool. I still use it just about daily. And I don't actually execute through them either. I execute through interactive brokers because their rates are cheaper. But I cannot disagree that I think Thinkorswim is just such a powerful platform.
Yeah, and just none of the, well, at least I know Ches or I, we're not, well, at least I know that I'm not getting paid to talk about any of this. As far as Ches or Jules, I'm pretty sure that they're not getting paid. So we're just, we're just shooting the breeze. But that's awesome that, you can have those text messages sent to you. So what made you, and I apologize if I don't think you answered this, but so you got your systems in place for your swing trading. Did you just want to get more into the day trading of options, so buying premium just to kind of keep yourself more engaged, or what was kind of your rationale between, or behind wanting to go down this path?
Well, I never had any interest in day trading options ever. And one day as we all know, you made your options trading simplified course. I'm not sure if that's the correct title of it.
It is the correct title. Well done, sir.
Awesome. And, for giggles, I bought the course. I wanted to check it out. and you made it seem so easy. Like one thing I struggled with by buying premium was what strike to buy. I was always taught, if you're gonna buy a premium, buy deep in the money, Delta 70 calls or puts or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. They're a lot more expensive, obviously, but so I didn't really know. But I'm like, well, if I'm gonna day trade options, I'm gonna buy a whole buttload of contracts. I don't want to just buy a few. So your course made it really simple that you didn't have to buy a specific price as long as you were okay with the risk associated. Now, obviously, if you're buying, lower, like deeper out of the money options, then there's obviously a lot more risk involved with that, and I'm okay with that risk. So,
But
that kind of opened my
you
eyes.
found, because this feedback's always good for me, but you found that the course, I guess, pun intended, simplified the mechanics of, because I mean, I lay out a step-by-step list of, what to look at and, all that sort of stuff. So that did help you kind of realize, oh yeah, I know how to pick a strike price if I go through that list. I mean, it just kind of, like I said, simplified things then and made it kind of
Oh yeah.
not seem as nearly complicated as what some people try to portray it as.
Yeah, and see, the thing that really attracted me to it is while you're going to that and you're going through examples of other students or whatever, or even your examples, is you can put up a lot less capital and make the same kind of gains that I was making, but you're making them intraday, whereas I'm making them on a weekly basis. So I'm like, well, if I can make these same gains intraday, that would be awesome. But at that time, my directional trading still wasn't good. I mean, yeah, I was doing these put credit spreads on Apple, but Apple just kept going up. So there was no point in even needing to know, technical analysis the way that I know it now. So that's when I really started to hunker down. And for the last 3 months, I've been paper trading, my directional intraday trading stuff. And that's really helped a lot. Like, I can't stress enough how important practice is.
Yeah,
Probably the
that's
most
actually,
important step of
yeah,
all of it.
it's you made a good comment, but you said, when Apple just kept going up and up. In other words, when Apple is trending up, or let's say when any price of anything, whether it's forex, whether it's futures, whether it's commodities, anything, when any price is trending up, I'll be the first to admit, do you really need technical analysis? No. All you got to do is buy the thing, and if it keeps trending up, it's going to go up. So, but then you said something changed. That price, again, we won't say Apple. That price of either could be a currency or a future or a commodity or just a stock. If it stops trending, then things get a little bit more difficult. And like you said, Jules, that's what caused you to quote unquote hunker down in your technical analysis, because you're like, oh wait, this isn't as easy. Going kind of almost full circle to your marijuana stock thing. All those gurus, they didn't need charts. They didn't need anything. They just needed to buy a ticker symbol, and the trend was up and everything happened. So yeah, when markets are trending, you pretty much just go in the direction of the trend. But so that's kind of funny and very true. How technical analysis. I know what it is, and I know this, I know that. But who cares? Apple just goes up every day, and
I
a
was
lot of people.
literally not using any indicators other than moving averages. Like, I didn't have anything on my charts except for moving averages at that point in time, up until August. Like,
And
it was
that's it.
ridiculous.
But to be honest, I mean, Apple was just in such beast mode that it really didn't matter. So, in terms of, I guess, what are your kind of goals in regards to? Well, I'll just ruin it. So you're setting up something in the forums at the Inner Circle, and kind of tell us about that as you're getting ready to kind of go live.
Well, I'm kind of setting up I would say a damn near impossible challenge, at least for me, because I'm still very fresh to, like day trading. I've only been doing it for 3 months, and it's all on paper, so I can't say that my results are any way realistic at all. But the challenge is to turn $500 into $50,000 in 2016, starting on January 4th. So I know it seems really impossible and far fetched, but if my live account is going anything the way my last 3 months of paper trading goes, then or even a small percentage of the way it's been going, then I definitely think it's doable.
What happens if you
Only
what happens if you axe it down by 50%?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So the gains that you've made on quote unquote paper, take 50% of those away. Is it still decent?
Well, each month I've started myself off with $800, and by the end of each month I'm near $10,000. So
So
50%
still,
of that, I could still see that happening. I mean,
yeah. So eight hundred to $5,000. That's yeah. Like I said, I'm anxiously awaiting. I know you're kind of getting some other people to. I don't know if they're necessarily trying to get up to $50,000, but at least start with 500. And it's a good challenge because I'm not trying to make it sound like money grows on trees. I realize that the fact that the $500 for many, that's a good chunk of change, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a good, very primitive but very effective way of risk management because I mean the most you can lose is $500. So
yeah, that's my thought
$500.
process.
Yeah, exactly. I mean
I mean,
it's like
even
I
if you
said.
get to 20,000 and you lose half of it, say, I mean, God forbid that happen, but say you lose half of it, at the end of the day, you can still say, well, it's just $500.
Yeah, I mean I'm looking at it saying if you can make 500 into 1,500, that's still a 200% increase on your money. That's super impressive regardless. But I mean, basically the RVR is very, very attractive. The risk, $500. The reward, well, unlimited. So, or did you want to chime in here, Ches? You look kind of
Yeah, I
anxious
was gonna
over
say
there.
us at chesstrader.com. We're actually doing the 50,000 to 5 million challenge in 2016. So if you want to be a part of the big boys, you can come over to
Yeah.
chesstrader. Just
Oh,
Yeah,
kidding. That's
we're
not
just
that's not
we're
real.
just a bunch of
That's not a real
peasants
thing.
over here compared to Chess Trader. So,
But yeah, I think it's going to be great. There's been a ton of interest in it, and honestly, we have a lot of people coming from either they're new traders or they're traders who have kind of suffered large losses and want to start over fresh. Those are ones that I think are really kind of finding interest in it, and it's by no means a competition because as all of you listeners know, trading is always more so a competition of you versus yourself. I get it, it's you versus the market, but more so than not, you are generally the problem of why you lose money. It's not a market maker, it's not some evil shorting hedge fund, anything like that. So just keep in mind. But I think it's a great competition. I'm really looking forward to it. And Clay, what do you want to add?
yeah, before Ches asks about kind of your mental mind frame in terms of losses, it's been a while since I've asked this, but it is a favorite question of mine for people that have background in penny stocks and are now doing options. So, Jules, put on your imagination cap. You are now in the court of law, and
sweet.
you are trying to make a pitch, or maybe the jury is just wondering, penny stocks versus options. What makes options so much more attractive than penny stocks? And I like to always get different people because everybody has a different way of explaining it, but I like to hear perspective. So that is the scenario. What would your response to kind of the journey be, or the jury be in regards to, options over penny stocks?
In two words. First one being liquidity, second one being stability of the underlying. So,
You
Well,
heard it right
explain
there,
that a
folks.
little bit more.
right.
though.
So in penny stocks, there's liquidity traps everywhere, and for those who are listening who don't know what that means, obviously there's just not enough money in the stock. So
In other words, you can always
go ahead.
buy a penny stock. The problem comes when you want to sell. Is there going to be somebody there to buy your shares? That's the liquidity trap that Jules is talking about. So,
Exactly. So when you're trading these big boys, Apple, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, and my favorite, the spiders, that you're not going to have that problem. If you're going to buy 100 contracts in the morning, you can be very confident that you could sell those 100 contracts at some point during the day. Like no problem. That it's not going to be an issue. So liquidity, obviously, and then the stability thing is, with penny stocks. I mean, I know you do your charts on them every day, Clay, but they don't really follow any kind of pattern. At least from my point of view. So when I'm following stocks like Facebook or Apple, intraday, you're going to see a bull flag or a bear flag. It's going to follow that pattern generally. You're going to see a head and shoulders pattern. It's going to follow that pattern. So that's what I mean by stability. So if you see a pattern on the chart, you can follow that pattern. Whereas with penny stocks, not so much, at least from my experience.
And just to put a little disclaimer out there, guys, when he's talking about the stability, penny stocks can rise and fall hundreds and thousands of percent, up and down. And by no means are big board, higher trading value stocks completely exempt from that. But it is very true that it is so much more rare. It is rare to have kind of a bigger name drop 70% in one session. It's just not. There's too much money in it to move it. It's kind of like the ocean or like a very, very large swimming pool. You can't just all move it at once, kind of down. Penny stocks, some of these have liquidity in the tune of like a couple $1,000s for the entire day. So
people get
it's
excited if a penny stock does like $500,000 and liquidity. It's like
that's
Apple
amazing
does that in
liquidity
2
for them.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
makes me laugh.
yeah, so drastically different, but very, very good points, and why options could be more beneficial, depending on what your objectives are. But I think a very important question that can really kind of show your history in trading now at this point, from pretty much start to finish, is, how do you mentally deal with a loss now compared to when you were first starting?
Yeah, I'm actually super curious because especially that one where you just rode that $10,000 down to 1,700. I mean, obviously you weren't mentally right when it came to taking a loss when you should have. So just walk us through that whole process.
I'm in a very unique situation financially. I understand there's not a whole lot of people in my certain situation. So the $10,000 to me may seem like a lot to a lot of people, but to me personally, it's not a lot of money. So when I take these losses, like even today, for example, I took a $1,200 paper loss, and it didn't really phase me because I know that there's still money there. Obviously, in the beginning, when I went from 10,000 to 1,700, that kind of kicked me right in the gut, because it was, a real eye opener, especially after watching the penny stock survival guide. But now, when I take a loss, it's I like to view the stock market as a video game because I'm an avid video game player, so I view it like that. And losses are going to happen. It's part of the game. If people can't accept that, then they shouldn't be trading. So you know when I take a loss, which these days it's more rare, I haven't taken a loss since the end of September. So, but when I do take a loss, it's just part of the game. I just move on to the next trade. I don't even think about it. It's like football teams when they go into halftime and they're down 21 points and they come back and they win. You just gotta just kind of wipe it off and just move on to the next one. And I know that's really hard to do, but I think I really learned that from years of tournament chess play, because that's really what was taught to me as part of my fundamental training, is how to emotionally handle a loss. So, I mean,
So
like I
you
said, I'm in a very unique situation.
so you understand that just because you take a loss, that doesn't mean you're a bad trader.
Yeah. Like, for
I mean,
example, today I took a pretty big loss, and everyone said, you should change your name from the king to the noob. And I'm like, dude, it's one loss out of the last 15 days. I mean, it's like, it's no big deal to me. It's not a big deal. I mean, if I would have lost $10,000 today, then yeah, that'd be a huge deal. But
well, then you'd have a massive risk management problem. Just because you take a loss does not imply that you're a bad trader. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. If you can't deal with the aspect that you are going to be wrong, then definitely stay away from trading, because it's only a matter of time before it happens. And it's how you react, aka risk management, that is going to dictate your longevity in this market. So we're going to start to wrap things up here, but I want to get through a couple more questions. We've kind of been over this a little bit, but what are some things right now, Jules, that you think you're doing very well? It sounds like you have losses under control, and you're doing very well with that. But something else that you feel like is a good strength of yours, and then something that you realize that you probably still need to work on a bit more.
well, we'll start with the things I need to work on. I need to stop being overconfident with my trading. That was a huge problem for me today, for example. And the things that I'm doing well is following advice, not following people's trades anymore. I'm not puppet trading anymore, but following advice. I've developed sort of a strategy for trading, and it helps me pre-market to determine the direction of the spiders by following the futures and some other indicators. And it's all stuff that I've learned in robotic trading, so it's no big secret stuff. And I think that by following other people's advice, I would say in particular Hooch and Mark, aka DT.
DT, get on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, they've given me a lot of great advice as to what indicators they use and time frames and how they use them intraday, and that has helped me tremendously, especially last month and this month. And it's helped me kind of develop a strategy, which we have like all collaborated on, and it's worked out quite well so far. But like I said, it's all paper, and we won't know the truth until next month when I go live in a small cash count.
Very cool, very cool. So obviously, something that we all wish we could do is kind of borrow this time machine that I did kind of invent with Doc Brown, the guy who made the Back to the Future car. So if we were to let you borrow this time machine, you could go back right to the fresh $10,000 deposit at TDA, What advice would you give yourself at that moment in time?
Advice I'd give myself at that moment in time is I would probably take that money out of my TDA account, invest it into Clay's courses immediately with no money, so none of this itchy fingers to go and trade without getting the proper education and practice. So I would get the education and then practice, 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 practice. I cannot emphasize that word enough. It's the most important aspect of anything in life. You wouldn't expect a professional athlete to go on the field without practicing and perform up to par. It's the same with trading.
That's actually an analogy I'll be using for a future video I do. It's like some of these people think, I watched a couple of videos on YouTube, therefore I'm ready to go compete against professionals. That's the equivalent of like watching a video on how to throw a football and then, okay, now I can be the quarterback of the, Dallas Cowboys. It's just because you watch a couple of YouTube videos, you can be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So, but anyways, like I said, that's a video I'll be working on. So perfect analogy. I fully agree. It is now time for some fun questions. So you ready to have some fun?
Sure, let's get it.
Were you at least having a little bit of fun before this or no?
Oh, totally.
We kind of came at it pretty good, but Jules, I just want to commend you again on kind of your complete open honesty, because I know there's somebody out there who's probably suffered a similar loss kind of buying the top of a penny stock or something like that. So kudos to you for just being completely transparent.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo that again. It's kind of hard to admit that you literally don't know anything except, well, I know what buy means, so I'll just do that. I mean, that's a pretty big admission. So yeah, again, what is your favorite movie though? Let's kick things off there.
Ooh, favorite movie is Pure Country. Not even sure if you've even heard of it.
I have not. Chaz, have you heard of that one?
I have not, but you're the movie guy, man. You just can't keep up with the guests, Clay. You really can't.
I'm terrible. I'm way behind the time. What is Pure Country? Who's in it?
It's got George Strait. He's a country artist. I used to be a real big cowboy growing up, but I'm not anymore. I listen to hip hop and metal music now, but that's always been my favorite. I did not know
movie. George Strait, the country music singer, was ever in a movie. So there's my one thing that I learned today.
Look that movie up. It's pretty great. I love it.
All right. You heard it here first, folks.
So what about, what would you say is your favorite meal and dessert?
Ooh, meal is green chili chicken enchiladas.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Favorite dessert would probably have to be pumpkin pie with whipped cream.
That's classic. That's right up there with apple pie in terms of American classics. So you mentioned you used to listen to country music, but what's your either favorite kind of song, or let's go with favorite group?
80s Metallica, 100%.
That's a classic. That's a classic right there. So what's a place you'd like to visit someday or to kind of take the family to?
Hawaii, all the islands.
Have you ever been there before?
Never.
I'd highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's a good time. And let's see. Okay, I'm looking at this one. You can't answer video games. So, but what do you like to do for fun or hobbies?
Well, if video games are out, chess and photography.
Very cool.
Mostly video games.
Mostly video games, but Clay kind of took that from you. And I knew he was going to do that because that's what he is. He's a tricky kind of guy. But
I'm a scumbag like that.
Little bit of scumbag like that. But what are 3 words you think should be associated with a successful trader?
Oh, research, practice, and patience in that order.
Wow, you went from hesitating to it sounded like you would need to think on it, and then you just rambled off through a really good one. So,
well, it's what I apply to everything I do in life. So those things are always in my head.
I think those are 3 good words to have in your head. That they apply across quite a few things. But yeah, that's a good choice of words. So, well, hey man, I don't know where the time went, but yeah, we're basically an hour in here. So, thank you again for hanging out and not only with us on the show, but I mean, you're a good, consistent member, kind of, except when you went on your pilgrimage or whatever that was. But recently, you've been very active, and I appreciate you being around, helping people out, and this case starting up the challenge. So I'm very anxious to see how everything goes with your live trading, and sounds like we'll definitely have to have you back to get an update at some point in time. In regards to how all this plays out. So does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a great plan.
Excellent, excellent. Well, for all of you listening, I'd like to make a final few requests before we head out. If you're listening to this at claytrader.com, click that share button and leave us a comment down below. We do read those, and I love to hear the feedback. And I'm always looking for just kind of what you liked and maybe things that you'd like us to start to include or whatever. If you're listening to this on iTunes, please leave us a review and a ranking. Little things like that, little clicks of the mouse really do go a long way. And as long as we continue to see interest, then we will continue to do these. So thank you again for listening. We will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.